A flaw is a flaw is a flaw. Madurai was the capital of the Pandya kingdom. It was a grand city that contributed to the growth of Tamil literature. During the reign of King Vankiya Chudamani Pandyan, the Tamil poets had their heyday. He had in his palace a coterie of poets who gave him cerebral pleasure. Chief among them was Nakeeran, the intrepid poet critic who had guts enough to criticize the poetry of the gods. As an ardent devotee of Lord Somsundarar, one among the many names of Lord Shiva, the king worshipped him thrice a day, dawn, noon, and dusk, in his temple. Therefore, he ordered all his available trees and plants that bore sweet-smelling flowers to be planted in his royal garden, so that he would not run short of flowers at any time. Since he had special liking for Shanbagam, Champak, and offered garlands strung of flower to the Lord, he came to be known as Sanbagmaran. One pleasant evening in summer, as the king relaxed in his garden, the trees and plants fanned him. The breeze, laden with the sweet scent of flowers, hugged him. It was a feast indeed to his senses, and the breeze, soft, cool, lulled him, and he fell into trance. He woke up with a start, as his delicate olfactory nerves experienced an overpoweringly sweet fragrance. He sniffed and looked around. He saw his queen coming towards him. He thought that it evidently proceeded from the queen's tresses, but at close quarters he found to his dismay that no flower adorned her cascade of unbraided hair. He was inquisitive. Was the smell that emanated from his queen's long flowing hair natural or artificial? He spent a sleepless night debating with himself about the problem and finally found an answer. Yet he wanted to refer the matter to the scholars of his land. The following morning the town crier beat his tom-tom and made it known to the public his majesty's doubt. He then added, "Whoever succeeds in composing a poem clearing the doubt of the king will be rewarded with 1,000 pieces of gold." Anxious to win the prize, many a poet flocked to the court, day after day, but no one was able to spot what the king had in his mind. Since none of his poems satisfactorily solved the royal doubt, the poets went away disappointed. A poor lad named Dharumi, who had remained a bachelor for want of financial assistance, walked straight into the temple and appealed to the Lord with all sincerity to help him. No one has the right to call himself a complete man till he gets married. If only you compose a poem clearing the doubt of the king and give it to me, O Lord, I'll become very rich. Please be kind to this orphan and allow him to be called a complete man. Moved by Dharumi's unflinching devotion and steadfast love, the Lord appeared before him and dictated a poem. Dharumi took it down on a palm leaf and carried it to the king. He read out the poem. "Tell me, O bee, feeding on the nectar of flowers, is there a blossom on earth emanating a sweeter scent than the long flowing hair of my even-toothed lady love, whose gait would put the peacock to shame?" The king beamed with joy, for the poem seconded his own thought. Fed up so far with nonsensical poems of the preceding competitors, the king immediately announced a reward to Dharumi. "Take it, it is all yours," said the king to Dharumi as he stretched out a platter on which sat majestically a bag of gold. His eyebrows raised, Dharumi moved towards the king with all humility. He reached for the bag. "Don't," came a voice. It was Nakeeran's. "Your poem doesn't deserve any reward. It is flawed." Dharumi lowered his face in shame. The next minute he took to his heels. He barged into the temple, all the time howling, "I deserve it. I deserve it. Too many slip between the cup and the lip." The Lord appeared again. Dharumi related to him the happenings in the court of the king. After a pause, he added, "I am, after all, a poor priest accustomed to stomach such insults. But unbearable is the pain when a mortal calls your composition a flawed one." Assuming the guise of the poet, the Lord entered the court and asked in an arrogant tone, "Who the deuce is he that called my composition a flawed piece?" "It's me," came the bold reply from Nakeeran. The Lord stared him in the face full and round. Point out the flaw. It is not in the form but in its content. Go ahead. There could be no inherent natural fragrance in the tresses of women, and your poem is opposed to truth. Does your objection stand even against the locks of divine damsels? Yes, it holds good for all women. Well then, what about the consort of Lord Shiva, whom you worship every day? Parvati may be the wife of Lord Shiva, but she is also a woman. Infuriated by such a curt reply, Lord slightly opened his third eye to indicate to him with whom he was arguing. Nakeeran was no mean creature to shiver at the sight of the Lord's third eye. He raised his voice and said, "A flaw is a flaw is a flaw, even if you open your third eye." The Lord, in an outburst of anger, opened fully his fiery third eye on Nakeeran, with the intention of teaching him the great lesson, humility. Engulfed in flames, Nakeeran ran for his life and jumped into the nearby lotus pond. Unable to bear the pain by burns, Nakeeran preferred to stay under water, emerging to the surface now and again for the whiff of air. The poets in the court felt like children in absence of their mother. They joined hands and made a mass appeal to Lord Shiva to cure Nakeeran of the burns he had inflicted on him. Lord Shiva turned a deaf ear to them, but when eminent poets like Kapilar and Paranar petitioned him, he cooled down and considered their request favorably.